I mean, my generation is in between the hippies and the kind of glitter days, you know, which I didn't really find anything good about the glitter music. Once you listen to a David Bowie record, saw a picture of the New York Dolls, and listened to a Brian Ferry song, then you had the idea of what that generation's music was about.
Right.
I didn't find any of that interesting, so then when I met Billy and John, there wasn't much music happening that was new, but they were, you know, they had all the old George Jones, Hank Williams, Smokey Robinson, Rockabilly, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, all those records. Then once I heard those and found out what kind of music they liked, and we started playing, then I think I realized, you know, what music was about.
Nice to have you here. Thank you. Exene, will you do me a favor, please?
Sure.
Handle the introductory the situation. Okay. Who is this man?
This is Billy Zoom.
Billy, it is a pleasure to welcome you here. Who's the fella on the drums?
DJ Bonebreak.
Nice to see you, sir. Welcome. Would you introduce the last one?
This is John Doe.
John Doe. Thank you, John. Nice to have you here. I better stay over here because when I leave, if I wrap that microphone around your legs, you and I leave together.
That's all right.
The man who I talked to, who not first brought you to my attention, because everyone in the world was talking about you, said he had the feeling that when he walked into a club and saw you, it was sort of like watching the Beatles at the old Cavern Club. Now, that's before the time of a lot of people here. How do you explain your success? Why the critics like you?
I like what everyone said before when you were introducing us.
Now, the last lady who was about to do the preamble of the Constitution of the United States over there was going to give you a complete history. You paid a lot of dues.
Yeah, we've been around a while.
How does it feel when all of a sudden your record's now being played on more and more radio stations? There's a hot radio station in L.A., KROQ, that plays a lot of the new music. Now, radio programming people all over the country are looking to this kind of music. Does it make you happy finally?
Yeah. Well, it's about time. And
It's been a hard fight.
Yeah, well, it's not just us. There's a lot of bands in America that should be on the radio that aren't. But it's starting to change. And K-Rock's a good station.
Well, this is not meant to be a commercial for them because they're all good and all of that stuff. We'll give equal time to everybody. But the main thing is you're blazing the way. Now, there are other artists who are being influenced by this music. Does that bug you a little bit or no?
Yeah, but I'm not going to talk about it.
All right. No, because the upside of that is what took so long to get people to give respectable attention to is probably the most important new kind of music there is. Tell me about the poetry place in Venice. What's it called?
Beyond Baroque.
What goes on there?
It's just a place where you go and read your work, and people criticize it and tell you what they think about it, and get to be a better writer.
Is this the modern day equivalent of I don't know, old writing societies and the old groups of authors getting together?
Well, you like to think that, yeah.
You don't give it that much significance?
No.
What's going to happen in the next year to X?
Probably be on the road a whole lot.
You look forward to that?
Oh, yeah.
Have you done it before?
Yeah, once or twice.
Hey everybody, it's been a long time since I've done a classic album deep dive. I got so wrapped up in my Rock and Roll Casualties series, and I'm like, okay, enough's enough for the time being. I got to get back to my bread and butter, which is doing these classic album deep dives. And so today, for my first one in what has been a very long time, I'm going to be talking about X, LA band X, and their third studio album, Under the Big Black Sun. This was produced, like their first two albums were, by The Doors keyboardist Ray Manzarek. This was released in 1982. This is probably X's darkest album, a lot of that having to do with the fact that vocalist Exene Cervenkas' sister died in a car crash in 1980, and so songs like Riding with Mary, Come Back to Me, and the title track do deal with mourning, loss, and death. But it's also probably their most accessible album to date. They'd always had that rockabilly influence on their first two albums, but this one definitely has more of a country, twangy feel to it. But there's still a lot of punk rock on this album as well. It was their major label debut, their first album for Elektra Records. And so you've got a little bit more of a polished feel here. It's still not what I would consider a commercial album. And no, it's not the sound of a band selling out. They still stay true to their LA punk roots. But the songwriting tends to be stronger. There's more variety in terms of the styles here featured on the record. And this happens to be my favorite X album. X had been formed in the late 1970s in Los Angeles by bassist, vocalist John Doe and guitarist Billy Zoom. They brought in John Doe's girlfriend, Exene Cervenkas, who was writing a lot of poetry, and drummer DJ Bonebrake. Their first album, Los Angeles, is widely considered to be a classic of the punk rock genre. They followed that up with 1981's Wild Gift, which is very similar stylistically. Both those records were released on the independent Slash label, both also produced by Ray Manzarek.
Well, the first time I saw X was at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and I'd read about them in an article that Chris Morris wrote called, in the LA Reader, called It Sounds Like Murder, and he had lyrics from the different bands, and the X song that he had the lyrics from was Johnny Hit and Run Pauline.
If I stare at iPhone, you should have said you should drug. You got 24 hours. You shoot up all in left with the leg. 96 to 24 hours. Sex once every hour.
And I read the lyrics and I thought, these are good lyrics. This is some serious poetry going on here.
I guess if you knew that Ray Manzarek produced the album, you would kind of expect it to sound a little bit like The Doors, but I don't hear The Doors at all in anything that X recorded with him as producer. So, for what it's worth, I think his production suited the band well. And X were one of those bands, they never quite reached the heights that the Clash and the Ramones and the Sex Pistols did, but they still are one of the most influential bands to come out of that late 70s punk scene. All right, so anyway, enough about that. Let's get into the songs on this classic record. The album opens up with The Hungry Wolf, and it has this tribal drumming, almost a Bo Diddley style beat, this twangy guitar lick that goes throughout the song. I love the harmonies between John Doe and Exene. A really great track that is a hybrid of that rockabilly punk sound that they do so well. Motel Room in My Bed is a straightforward punk song with lyrics about having to share a shitty hotel room with a roadie, basically recounting what life is like on the road for a struggling band. Musically, it reminds me a lot of the B-52s from their debut album. And I've always said this album reminds me a lot of early B-52s mixed with Blondie, mixed with the Ramones. But I love this track. Riding with Mary, lyrically, is the first song on the album, with Exene trying to come to terms with the death of her sister, who died in a car crash in 1980. And it seems to be talking about the inadequacy of religion and coping with grief and loss. Come Back to Me is the only song on the album that could really be classified as a ballad, but lyrically, it is one of the rawest, most powerful descriptions of grief as you will ever hear, graphically talking about being at the funeral home of your loved one, all the sights, sounds, and experiences as you're trying to deal with that grief. It's really an emotionally packed song, but I love it. Exene sings it beautifully, and it really is a sad and mournful tune, but I love it nonetheless. The last track on side one is the title track, Under the Big Black Sun. And it's the third in a trilogy of songs that deal with the death of Exene's sister. This one is probably the most up-tempo and brightest, at least musically. Lyrically, it's kind of all over the map. But it seems to be, again, about coping with loss, trying to figure out a way to move forward when someone very close to you is unexpectedly and tragically taken. I mean, heavy subject matter for a punk song. I think it's a great tune and a cool way to close out side one. So before I flip the record over to side two, I just want to talk a little bit about why is this my favorite X album? Well, for starters, I feel like it's the most focused X album, and I don't mean that to disparage any of the records that came before or came after, but this album just holds together, I think, better than most X albums, and the first four X albums are really all classics. But this one, for me, there's a diversity of styles. I feel like the songwriting is more intimate. It's more inward focused than some of their other material. And stylistically, I just like everything that this album has to offer. There's melodies all over the place. Every song is catchy and memorable. And that is why I love this one. For some reason, it's just always, well, I shouldn't say for some reason, I should say for all the reasons that I just articulated. That's why I like this album above all the other X records. All right, so on to side two. It starts off with Because I Do. And this song really reminds me of early Blondie, like the first two Blondie records. This has got a Debbie Harry vibe to it, and I really like it. Lyrically, it's about somebody who, they say they're a ghost, but that could be metaphorically. And they're talking about how they're unhappily married and looking for something new. And it might just be the whole feeling of, now I'm married, now I'm tied down for the rest of my life. That's how I interpret the lyrics anyway, but a cool song. The next track, Blue Spark, is barely over 2 minutes in length, but it covers so much ground during its short duration. I love that punk rockabilly hybrid that you get with this song, and I love that jolt of electric guitar. It kind of has a stutter-stop rhythm to it, but I love those stabs of guitar, and I love the harmonies between John Doe and Exene. One of the highlights of the record for me. The next song, Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, was actually written by two American songwriters from the 30s and 40s, Al Dubin and Joe Burke. I have no idea what else they wrote, but so this technically is a cover song, but they very much do a surf rock take on this song. Another very brief track. I really like that they throw everything into this song. Real Child of Hell is a straightforward punk rock song. Seems to be about a bunch of rabble-rousers, drunken louts out on a Saturday night. I don't really have much more to say about it other than that. I mean, it's maybe the weakest song on the album in my estimation, but still pretty cool nonetheless. The next track is How I Learned My Lesson. I love the guitar playing on this song. Just focus on the guitar playing. Billy Zoom was a really underrated punk rock guitarist. Didn't get enough credit, but I love how he kind of blends the surf guitar and the rockabilly and the punk. He can play all those styles, and he does them so well. Last track on the album is The Have-Nots. I love the guitar tone on this song, very much surf guitar. Lyrically, it seems to be a social commentary that the working class, all they have to look forward to is the end of the day when they can sit at the bar and get wasted. Anyway, another stylistic shift on this album, but I think it's a very cool way to close it out.
Drink at the bar, nothing more, anything but the bottom step of the ladder. It keeps getting higher and higher. Dawn comes soon enough for the working class. It keeps getting sooner or later. This is the game that moves as you play.
So that is my take on Under the Big Black Sun, my favorite X album. Hopefully, if you haven't heard it before, you enjoy it. If you have heard it, let me know what you think of it. Where does it fit for you in X's catalog? Hope you're doing great, and take care.